Hello, 7th grade students. Today we are going to be talking about solving multi-step equations. Our objectives for the day are to solve multi-step equations, and to do this we are going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. A word that could also be used for inverse is opposite. So let's take a look quickly at our order of operations pyramid. Generally, when we're following the order of operations, we start with our grouping symbols up here at the top, and we follow it all the way down, and we look for addition and subtraction at the end, and we go from left to right. When we're looking at equations, we are going to take a look for addition and subtraction first, and then work our way up to our grouping symbols of brackets and parentheses. Okay, as we take a look at our first example, we are going to read through the problem first. The height in feet of a tree after X years is 1.5x plus 15. After how many years is the tree 24 feet tall? I have some key information here that I'm going to need to know. I know that X is years, and I know that the question is asking how many years. So I know that I'm going to need to have X all by itself in order to have my answer. I see the word is. Is a good clue word for the equal sign. So in order to write my equation, I'm going to write 1.5x plus 15 is or equals 24. And my goal is to get that x all by itself. So I'm going to need to use some inverse operations in order to do that. If I'm looking at the bottom of my order of operations triangle, addition and subtraction are the first operations I need to undo. So I see that I have addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 15 from both sides. It's important to keep that balance stable, so I need to do the same thing to both sides. I have a positive 15 and a negative 15, which cancel out or make 0. I have 24 minus 15, and that is 9. And I have my 1.5 x's over here. So my new problem is 1.5 times x equals 9. I need to undo multiplication, and in order to undo multiplication, I would use division. I'm going to divide this side by 1.5. If I do it to the left side, I also need to do it to the right side. And I know that 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. So I'm left with 1x, which is our goal, to have one of the variable by itself. And then I have 9 divided by 1.5. If I need to take a second to use my calculator, I can do that. And 9 divided by 1.5 is 6. So since x is years, I know that it will take 6 years for the tree to get to 24 feet tall. All right, in example number 2, I have a little bit of additional work that I need to take a look at before I can solve for x. So the problem is 8x minus 6x minus 25 equals negative 35. So before I start taking things or adding things to both sides, I notice that I have some like terms that I can combine. I have 8 x's and I'm taking away 6 x's. So if I do that, I will end up with only 2 x's. If I copy the rest of the information down, I have now simplified my equation, so it'll be much easier to solve. Again, thinking about my order of operations pyramid, I know addition and subtraction are what I need to look for first. I see that I have subtraction, so in order to undo that subtraction, I'm going to add. And if I add to one side, I have to keep it balanced and add to the other side. These are 0 pairs, so those cancel out. And I'm left with just my 2 x's on the left side. I'm at negative 35, and I'm gaining 25. If I think about that, I have more negatives than positives, so I know my answer is negative, and I have 10 more negatives than positives. Now I have 2 times x equals negative 10. If I just think about that, 2 times something equals negative 10. Might be able to do that in my head, but if we're unsure, We can undo multiplication with division. And I know that 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm left with my 1x. That's always our goal, is to find one of our variable. And I have negative 10 divided by positive 2. I know a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. All right, what I would like you to do right now is pause the video and try problem number 1, and then press play, and I will work through it, and we can see if we got the same answer. Okay, hopefully you got your answer. Let's see if ours compare well. Our goal is to get the variable by itself. The variable is z. So I see that I have addition. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that addition by using subtraction. Like pairs, or zero pairs cancel out. And I have negative 3z equals 7 minus 1 is 6. Negative 3 times z is multiplication, so in order to undo multiplication, I will use division and divide both sides by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1, so I have 1z left. 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. Hopefully you got that as your answer as well. What I would like you to do is pause and try this problem, and I will meet you back here in a minute. Okay, hopefully you have tried this problem, and our goal is to get x all by itself. So I noticed right away that I have subtraction. In order to get rid of subtraction, I will add 9 to both sides. When I add 9 to both sides, I have a 0 pair, and I'm left with a half of an x. And I have negative 25 plus positive 9. I see that I have more negatives than positives, so my answer is going to be negative. And I have 16 more negatives than I do positives. 25 minus 9 would be 16. From here, I have a fraction. Doesn't scare me. All I need to do is undo that fraction. So that means I need to use the reciprocal. Negative 16 as a fraction is negative 16 over 1. All right, so I get to do some canceling out here. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So that means that these will cancel out, and I'm left with my x. I have negative 16 times 2, which would be negative 38. 1 times 1 is just 1. So my answer could also be negative 38. Okay, this is the last problem that I would like you to pause the video and try on your own, and we'll see you back here in a minute. All right, hopefully you weren't stumped by this one. Here's one that we have some simplifying to do before we can actually solve. So our first step is to combine like terms. We have negative 4n, take away 8 more n. If I do add the opposite, this might make it a little bit easier. Negative 4n plus negative 8n. So I have all negative n's, and I have 12 of them. And then I can copy down the rest of my problem. Now I have addition, and I have multiplication to undo. In order to undo my addition, I'm going to subtract. And these cancel out. Negative 12n equals, and 23 minus 17 would be 6. And in order to get that n all by itself, I need to use some division to undo the multiplication. We're going to divide by negative 12. Negative 12 divided by negative 12 would be 1n. And 6 divided by negative 12, well, I know my answer is negative. And 6/12 would simplify to 1/2. If I did that on my calculator, I probably had a decimal. So I might have negative half. All right. So we're going to ask that you work on these 3 problems. and do these on the Schoology quiz that you see below. Please enter your answers there so that we have a good understanding of how you guys did on this lesson. Thank you. Okay, if you would please pause on this page so that the problems don't go away from you. If you press pause and then work out these 3 problems and enter your answers on the Schoology quiz below. Thank you.